Hi, this is Melanie from Screen Time with Mel, and today we're going to talk about the Serpent Queen Season 1, Episode 5. So let's get on with it. Hey everybody, thanks so much for stopping by today. If you're returning, well thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as you enjoyed the last one. And if you're brand new, well thank you for checking me out. Don't hesitate to join in the conversation down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell right next to it to remind you each time I come out with a brand new video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get on with this episode. Alright, so we start out this episode with the Queen talking to her lady, Rahima, and in this, they're talking back and forth about Mary and her claim to the throne and her concerns about Mary. Now, she is telling Rahima that she thinks that Mary's in league with Queen Elizabeth, who, you know, Mary, Queen of Scots, and Queen Elizabeth are famed enemies. But apparently, according to Catherine, them together like Catherine worse than they dislike each other. So they don't want her ruling a country. So the Queen asks Rahima for a favor and asks her to go and search Mary's rooms for something. I didn't catch it if there was anything specific she was looking for, but she was looking for something, probably missives, denoting treachery of some sort, right? So we go back into the past, and it's pretty much close to the time where we left off before, where she and Diane are still kind of competing for the king's favor, and Diana is still taking the liquid gold from one of Catherine's ladies. Now, Diane is giving her just a drop at a time and telling her she cannot take too much because it can drive her mad. So, Diana's continuing to do this. Meanwhile, the king Henry is wanting to, I believe it's Henry, is wanting to go to war with Spain. So he's headed off to war with Spain, and when he does this, he leaves Catherine as a regent. So in doing this, he makes one of the Protestant members of the Privy Council, I forget the last name of the family, but it's pretty prominent. He was supposed to be regent, and in naming Catherine regent makes this guy's brother mad. And he's like, why did you agree to do this? And he says, well, because the king asked me to. What would you have me say? And his brother's like, no. The king goes off to war, and of course Diana decides to go with him because she wants to stay right next to the king to stay in his favor, to keep in his mind where Catherine is going to be off back at the castle ruling the country as the regent. Okay? Now, what's funny is that the two members of the Privy Council that are the Protestants, they take meetings around a table of food all the time, and they're constantly eating, and of course they make all these noises while eating, which is driving me crazy. But I know that the people who create these films do this because they don't want us to like them. They want to make them even more unlikable. But it drives me crazy when I hear all that. Alright, so they are taking meetings there, and somebody comes to seek them favor, and they basically say, well, we can do this, but then your prophets, I think he's wanting to build a ship, or something. Anyway, he's wanting to build something, and they were willing to lend him money, but his profits, he has to give him half of the profits, which is basically robbing him blind. He was asking for 25%, to give them 25%. So, just after this, Catherine calls the Privy Council. She's got a note from the king needing more money, and she calls the Privy Council. Well, nobody comes. The bishop who is part of the de Guy family, which is Mary, cousin to Mary, and then the two Protestants, they just don't show up, which is a huge slight against her. And when she comes to each of them saying, hey, the king needs money, they say, okay, well, we can make this happen for you, but we need these favors in return. Catherine, what she does instead is she appeals to the people, and she ends up currying favor with the Protestants by doing so. And she agrees to let this one guy who was trying to get money before seeks out counsel with the king, and he can say whatever he wants with no repercussions. So the king continues to fight his war, and before he'd gone off to war, Diana told the lady who's been giving her the liquid gold that, hey, you need to give me a bottle. So she gives her a bottle of it, and then Diana gives her rings so that she can melt down more gold and make more of this potion for her. Well, instead of taking a drop at a time, which she's only supposed to take 2 drops a day, one in the morning, one in the evening, I think she specified that. Anyway, no more than 2 drops a day. Starts drinking it like a shot instead. And again, remember, this is supposed to make her go mad. So she did this beforehand, and the king comes back victorious because Catherine was able to get him the money, so they were able to come back victorious. And he decides to give Catherine an estate. He gives her this estate, which is wonderful. And if the king's dies, she has an estate to retire to. So that's such great news. And then this gentleman that she promised a private counsel goes to the king to get the private counsel. Of course, the private counsel includes all of his retinue, including Diana and Catherine, of course, and the Privy Council. And he goes in there and lets the king have it, lets everyone have it. And Diana gets completely incensed, goes mad because he's calling her names, of course, not very polite names, considering that she is the king's mistress. And as he leaves, she ends up slicing his throat with a knife from somebody else in the room. She grabs a knife and slices his throat in front of everybody. Okay, so she's like crying at the end, I'm so sorry I did this for you, to the king. And in the end, she comes to Catherine as she and the king are leaving and said that the king and I have decided to retire to the states, which, if I'm remembering right, are these states that the king gave to Catherine instead of the estates that Catherine wanted to give to Diana and have her move to. So they're retiring there, and she's very smug. But of course, you know, this is not going to end well for this lady because she's about to go mad with all the liquid gold she's drinking. And then we flash forward where the lady, Catherine's lady, Rahima, says, okay, I'll go and I'll do the search for you. So she goes while all of Mary and all of her ladies are out in the lawn. Now, throughout this episode, one thing that it's presented Catherine as is a reasonable woman, a woman who's trying to do right by the country, while all of these other factions around her are fighting for their own favor, trying to boost themselves up, and do not have the country's best interest in mind, whereas Catherine does. Okay, so they're painting her in this light. Now we get to the end, and Rahima's rifling through all of Mary's stuff, and she's out talking to Mary, and she says to Mary, "Oh, well, you look cold. Why don't we get you a sweater?" She goes, "No, I'm fine." And she says, "Oh, no, I must insist." And she has one of the ladies go to Mary's rooms. Well, she knows Rahima's there, and insists that she could get her a sweater or something to cover up. And of course, the lady catches Rahima in the room, and that's how the episode ends. So you know that Catherine did this intentionally. Now, is this out of seeing if Rahima can talk her way out of it, or does she have some other farther reaching goal in mind, or is she just being spiteful? Yeah, because they painted Catherine in one light, but is she really in another light? And I love that the series is doing this. It's doing this balancing act of what is rumored to be Catherine and what could be true of Catherine, and not quite so witchy as history paints her to be. So I found that fascinating. I can't wait to see what happens next. What happens to Rahima? And as the intrigue continues on, and with Diana slowly going mad from this liquid gold that she's taking, so that she can stay appealing to the king. So it's fascinating. I can't wait to see what happens next in episode 6. So, but we'll have to wait until we get there. But what did you guys think of this episode? Is there anything that I didn't talk about that I should have mentioned? Let's talk about it down below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to hit that thumbs up button. And if you're down there and you haven't yet, and you like all things TV and some movies, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so that you're reminded each time I come out with a brand new video. Thank you all so much for being here today. I appreciate each and every one of you. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye-bye.